Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear my British young little men, white and black and brown and yellow, here is my true story, my Islam true story about England many years ago. Before the Second World War, I was born in Sheffield. England. I was a little white boy. And when I was around 12 or 13, my mother and I, we moved to Devon. In Devon, I went to school. And by the time the Second World War started, I was mature enough to be recruited as a pilot, and I was trained as a pilot to try and go and save the Jews who were being exterminated by Hitler in Auschwitz. So with that, I flew to Germany and I dropped a bomb. On my way back to England, my plane was shot. It was like a flash of light. So after that, I just found myself as a little 5-year-old boy in Palestine with my mom and my grandma and my dad. And not my dad, my grandma and my granddad. So with that, we used to live in northern Palestine in a place called Yaffo, which is now called Israel, but it used to be called Palestine. So I was very happy when I was living with my mom and my grandma, my granddad. We used to live in a place in northern Israel, a place called Yaffo, near a certain mountain called Tabao. You have a mountain, I think. It's just something like, which looks like whatever, hill or mountain. It's called Tabao. As I was growing up, I was very happy. We are very joyful. My grandma used to do things that used to make me laugh all the time, as well as my mama and my granddad. But when the very day that the Israelis and the Europeans invaded Palestine, that is the last day I became to know of being a white boy. And that very day, we left Palestine. I didn't know how. I just found myself in Africa. With my grandma and my granddad. And from that day, I never saw my mama again. I never saw my beautiful mama again. So I grew up with my grandma and my granddad. They loved me so much. They loved me, they cherished me. They could do whatever to make me always smile. Sometimes they called the angels to come and see me. And I'm always glad when my grandpa used to say, Dawood, come and sit here next to me. As soon as I sit next to grandpa, the angels would start flowing from heaven. So that way, always my mind was taken off my mom, and I was glad when I see the angels. And then after some time, when I was old enough, when I grew up, my grandpa, Allah took him back to heaven. So I was left with my grandma. But I was old enough to be able to travel back to England, because I used to remember England. I used to remember Devon, Sheffield, and all the memories. Most of the memories I never lost too much of the memory of what I was when I was a little white boy, as well as when I grew up and became a pilot and whatever. I never lost too much of those memories. So when I returned to England, I was a black man. And nobody knew me in England. No one. And they didn't want to know. But very happily, Allah had assured me that whatever it takes, He will do whatever it takes to protect my dignity. Because he reminded me that I saved you when they shot your plane. I saved you, the same way I saved you. The same way I'll protect you from whatever these people will try to do to you. My people, when I remember since I returned to England as a black man, the very day I returned, I wouldn't say I was happy, but I was glad to be in England because before we went to war, before the Second World War, like anybody now today in England, you look up to the king and whatever to enjoy the beauty of our territories in England. So I used to enjoy the memories of Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, as well as the Queen herself. And those two people kept my life kind of in a certain order. Because as far as I'm concerned, whenever I used to get kind of attacked or whatever, harassed, I could just go and hide under the Queen's, whatever, the Queen Elizabeth or Queen Mother's, whatever, when she was still alive. I would just go and hide under her dress and be there as whatever. And that's why I was protected from too much. And I was able to make one of the greatest, the greatest portraits on this, of her, the late Queen Mother, the late Queen Mother Elizabeth, as well as the Queen Mother herself, the Queen herself. I made it one of the most beautiful portraits. And luckily enough, when I made those portraits, I did not make them in England. Both the portrait of the Queen Mother, Elizabeth Queen Mother, I made it in between Saudi Arabia in Mecca and Medina. And the portrait of the Queen was made in Mecca. That is in the mosque, or the Holy Mosque of Mecca. With that, I loved. I made so many portraits of the Queen, as I told you. Whenever we used to be taunted by whatever, I would just go and hide in there, whatever, and keep quiet there. So with whatever, they themselves, they always protected me. With that, then in 2009, things turned became very sour when because I said I want to donate one of my work to the British museum, one of the British museum, and they said we are send them the whatever. And they said no, we do not. We do have a lot of what Queen's work. We cannot accept that. So I said, okay, well, I'll keep my work. And I kept my work. But one day when I went to work, I wake up, I go to work. When I come back, my house was empty. All my works had been taken from my house. So from that day, I tried to I did ask who, but they left a letter and said, we were here, according to this and this, we took your work. I just went to them and I said, you've made a very, very big mistake. So after that, they told me the next day, my works would be kind of auctioned if I did not pay the amount of money they were asking for. So after whatever a few days, they auctioned my work. And I never saw any of my beautiful pieces, because there were over 20 pieces of very, very beautiful works of art. With that, in one of the whatever, which wasn't the Queen or the Queen Mother, there was a portrait, a work of art, which was predicting or explaining the COVID disease that kind of overwrapped the entire planet of planet Earth. And with that, because as soon as they took my work, I said, these people, you've made a very, very big mistake. See, over the years, from 2009, I tried to say to these people, please, the works that you took were not mine, and on top of that, you did make a mistake. And after I think it was after either 3 months or 4 months, they wrote to me and said, "Oh, we made a mistake. Indeed, we made a very big mistake. You didn't owe us anything, so we made a mistake." Then I waited for the compensation because they asked me how much it was worth with the work they took. I said, anyway, 20 something pieces. I said, according to me, they're priceless. I can't put a price on them. And from that, I just said I just want something like one. I won't say that, but from that day, I became a victim. That every angle that came from the authority who had taken my works was torment, was torture, was psychological mutilation of the highest order, as well as physical mutilation of the highest order. With that, I was even accused of madness. I was accused of being mentally sick. I said, my people, why are you doing this? They insisted I was a madman. To try and either, they never paid me anyway. They never paid any penny to me, as far as my works of art were concerned. So with that, I just had to work very, very hard to survive the onslaught, either one of it, which was, as I said to you, they accused me of being a madman. And I said, my people, a madman cannot wake up. A madman is a mad. You describe a madman who say, whatever, he goes in the warehouse, he manufactures either a nuclear warhead or a ballistic missile. He tests it on the environment that feeds his family as well as his children, as well as other creations. I would describe that as a madman, a man who has no sense of what he's doing. I've never manufactured a nuclear weapon or a gun or a knife or anything like that. All I had was works of very, very special art. And some of these works belong to celestial beings. Because when I was growing up, these celestial beings are the only friends I've had for centuries, apart from the Queen and the Queen Mother. These are the only friends I've had. So with that, Allah said, they took your work. A time came and I got very, very tired because my body was being abused. You know, in this country, I wouldn't go in great detail, but I was accused to such an extent that they would either do whatever you copycat to try and get what you call they call them what you call I don't know how to call it, which word to use. But anyway, as I said to you, my fellow human beings, I've had a very rough time being a black man in Europe, in Britain, where I was born in the before the Second World War. And then after the Second World War, when I left England to Uganda, whatever, I dropped a bomb over Germany. I would never return from that day. And I became a Palestinian, a 5-year-old Palestinian, and then an African, a black African man, who I am today. But today, you cannot tell whether I'm black, whether I'm blue, whether I'm yellow, whichever color you can think of. Allah has said, whichever color that you want to be, you will always be. And with that, I'm very grateful that the aliens are the best friend that I've ever given. The aliens and Allah, the most holy, glorified Allah, has protected me. Has protected me from the dirty hands of men, the dirty minds of men. With that, I would like to tell every human being or on planet Earth that you are all Muslims. You are all living Muslims on this planet. So long as you say otherwise, if you say that your religion is different from the religion of Islam, that's when you enter our Ticola, a dispute and confrontation. with the red and white blood cell in your bodies. Because every red and white blood cell in every human being, there is a region of every red and white blood cell is Islam. With that, every muscle tissue on your body is constructed by a red and white blood cell. With that, if you were to fight Islam and say, I'm not a Muslim, I'm a Christian, that's when you find yourself say, I can drink 5 or 10 bottles of cognac or John Walker or Jack Daniels in a single night. With that, indeed, Allah has laid down a law, very, very beautiful, holy laws and holy divine prescriptions, as well as holy divine directives and laws which are directly to say to human being, these are the holy divine directive and prescriptions, which is prevention is better than cure. Do not put alcohol in your bodies. My people, if you were to ask NHS, the healthy whatever of England, how many millions it spends on people who are affected by the whatever the diseases that are kind of induced from alcohol consumption, you wouldn't tell, because the money that is spent outweigh any of the taxes that the exchequer kind of collects from every bottle of alcohol. With that, I would advise the NHS or the government of Great Britain that please put a law to the whatever that there should be no sale of alcohol in England. That way, you put the weight off the shoulders of men of duty, the policemen, who have to go through whatever every single weekend when they are either kicked by drunken men and whatever. And the medical fraternity to find it very hard to cope over the weekend because everyone is drunk. So my people, I tell this whatever goes to young children, because I was once a little white boy in England, Sheffield, where I was born. So with that, little young men of every color, because in England you have every color. You have people from Africa, people from Asia, people from every corner of this planet. My people, look to Islam. Yes, the only way you ever be able to avoid being pulled on an ICU trolley, taken into intensive care, room, to be surgically open, your chest open, so that you can put your heart in order, or a temporary whatever, because of alcohol. So, my people, this message goes to young men, children especially, me, about the older people. They don't understand this language. As long as human beings or British people, you deny the truth of Islam, you always commit injustices against your own bodies. With that, cancer rate in either young women of 20 and whatever, young men and women, every whatever, it goes up because they believe they're not Muslims. With that, what the first thing they do when they say they are not Muslims, they'll either get into alcohol, kind of alcohol binge, whatever. And that is one of the deadliest whatever that you can impose on a human body, alcohol. Because there is a holy, deadly, divine, direct law, a holy, divine prescription, which says to men, human beings have prohibited men and women from the consumption of alcohol. Because when we created you, your body does not have any mechanisms or does not know how to remove alcohol, gang toxins from a human body. With that, every toxic gunk and toxins that you consume as a human being, it will just circulate within your muscle tissues, after killing every electrical spasm in either in every red and white blood cell. When you go over the weekend and you see you had a binge, whatever, just look at yourself when you wake up on over whatever, with what we call a hangover headache, that you cannot lift your head off the pillow because of the pounding headache. With that, your own brain neurons, your own diagnosis, your body diagnosis tells you, before you see a neurologist, that your brain neurons were totally, permanently damaged by the alcohol binge or whatever that you were in. Every neuron was put out of its natural rotational sequencing order. That way you can easily become mad, you can easily become suffer from dementia, you can easily suffer from any condition. With that, the deadliest condition is when you consume alcohol, because the toxins in the alcohol kills every electrical spasm in every red and white blood cell, and every electrical spasm in a red and white blood cell is the heart and the brain of the red and white blood cell. Once it's dead, that means the brain neurons are starved of any whatever it calls electrical sparks that allows the brain neurons to function, to execute very complicated functions, which it tells you this part of the body needs this amount of that, whatever, and every time that goes on. If you are into the human brain and look at how we are a brain neuron and execute whatever this, whatever, it's so complicated. So you see, the most holy glorified who created the human brain says to human beings, do not consume alcohol. As simple as that. This message is to young men under the age from 5 years old, maybe up to 15. If you really love your life, do not make alcohol your friend, because it's not. It's the worst enemy that you ever make or bring near to your body, because your body is you. When you put alcohol in it, it's you who will suffer the consequences of being a drunken whatever. My people of Britain, I'm a Muslim. You too, you are Muslims. Every living human being on this planet is a Muslim. With that, you are all brothers and sisters in the most holy, beautiful religion of Islam. Life is a religion, and that most holy, beautiful religion is Islam. With Islam, I've lived more than, I cannot tell you how long. I've survived all assaults or whatever that were directed at me by men who thought that they can play whatever with the holy men of Allah. No man can do that. Allah gave me the best of the aliens. They hear whatever word I say, from even if it's a trillion light years away. And with that, they respond as if it's a flash of light. So mankind, I'm just a friend to those who want to be my friend. With life, you are all living Muslims on this planet. Do not manufacture weapons, and do not consume alcohol, and do not engage in color wars. That I'm white, I'm this and that. No. For me, now I don't know whether I'm black. I can't tell how many colors I am. Because Allah, at one time, He said to me, look at that beautiful atom. And when Allah made me look at an atom, I counted up to 8 trillion rhythms of colors of life. Each color is different from the other. 8 trillion different colors on one face, on a single face of an atom. So with that, Allah said you can dress into that. Maybe that way men will never find who you are really. Will never be able to know who you are. Because you are a person, or you are a Christian that has never had nobody. And you are clean. So that way, I'm a Muslim. Clean. Very, very clean. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You are all living Muslims on planet Earth. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.